Welcome to the Unwashed Asses, episode 65, recorded for Monday, December 17th, 2018. It is not beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Oh man, apologize for that. I'm going to have to get good with the mute button here, which is also why we've not had an episode in a week and a half. I'm actually recording this Thursday, but not that it matters. Because that awful cold that's been running through and ravaging everybody, it definitely not only knocked me on my ass, but has robbed me of my deep, lustrous, beautiful voice. I can talk, but not for extended periods of time without getting a tickle in my throat. It's like I'm being throat fucked by a feather duster. And I haven't been confident in my ability to record anything without either A, having a coughing fit, or B, just blowing out my voice entirely. So, let me turn off notifications. Clear all notifications, and now my phone's going off because it's just a madhouse here. But no, it's not feeling like Christmas. Our temperature, let me pull that up here because this makes for riveting podcasting. We're currently sitting at 40 degrees with a high of 42. Christmas, we're supposed to be at 39. And no real chance for precipitation between here and there. So not only is it not going to be a white Christmas, but it's going to be a mildly warm Christmas. I was commenting to a coworker the other day, by which I mean yesterday. It actually feels more like fall than it does winter at this point. To the point where, I'm working outside. I don't have a whole lot of heavy winter gear on. Sure, I've got my layer of thermals, but I've been rocking a vest more so than like a full-on winter jacket. And even when I do get the winter jacket on, it's one of those ones that comes in multiple layers. I've not been putting the outer shell on, which, protects from the wind and the rain. And it sucks. I like the gloomier, shittier weather, and we've not been having it in terms of gloom and snow. It's been bright and sunny, and the sun is hot. Holy shit, is it hot. Like, it'll be 40 degrees out, but with the sun beating on you, I've been running around with not turning the air conditioner on in my truck, but leaving it set to, cold instead of hot. And it's discouraging. It's not what you want. I know a lot of people are, oh yeah, well, I'm happy there's no snow. I don't want to drive in it. I don't want to deal with it. Well, then you shouldn't be living in the Midwest to begin with. And then, two, you shouldn't be living this far up in the Midwest. But, global warming and climate change and all that fun stuff. And that got me thinking the other day, like, I want to say I remember winters being a lot more brutal back when I was a kid, like 25 years ago. But human memory is fallible at best, and maybe all I'm remembering are just the really bad snowstorms that we got. I'm so sorry. Maybe I'm not remembering winter lasting, and having consistent heavy snowfall throughout the entirety of it. But I want to say I do. I remember, going behind the apartment as a kid with my little sister and pretending to be X-Men as we climbed snow piles and watched the snow fall through the spotlights in the back, and digging snow tunnels, and there just always being a need for snow boots, and my grandma at my dad's on my dad's side having the radiators, the water heating throughout the entire home, and we put our mittens and our scarves and all that on those. And then on my mom's side, we'd have the wood stove, and we'd put everything on there. And I seem to remember, a lot more like tobogganing and snowball fights and things like that. And it's not happening right now, and it sucks because I like snow. It's pretty. Right now we have green grass, green with slight tinge of yellow, and brown fields and trees with still fucking sorry, have leaves on them. It's a joke. It's terrible. Nobody wants this, especially on Christmas. Like that's like the one, everybody agrees this is the one day that we need to have snow on the ground and have it gently falling while a fire roars in the hearth and Bing Crosby sings about the bullshit he always sings about. And we just don't have it. And I was hoping that, by moving up to Wisconsin, I would get a taste of that again, because Illinois has been devolving into not so much a traditional winter as it is just constant rain and mud everywhere. At least the ground's frozen up here, but if it keeps staying above 40, I don't know how long that's going to hold true. There's nothing worse than going out and working outside and having to go back inside a customer's house and having mud all over your boots. Ugh, it's terrible. Terrible. So that's got me bummed out. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Ha! He said the line. We're transitioning to what should be the actual topic. Take another drink here before I cough. Cough drops don't do shit. Especially Ludens. Ludens are just essentially candy. They taste great, but they do nothing to suppress the cough. Even my go-to, the fuck are they? Ricola. They're not doing anything for it. What has been helping, though, has been fucking Starbucks Frappuccinos. For all as dumb as that fucking sounds, it's just like that creamy, milky goodness. It's been settling my throat down, because what it is it's more of a tickle than anything else at this point. I'm a little congested still, but there's always this tickle in my throat, and when I talk a whole lot, it gets aggravated, and then I want to cough, like right now. If I could just get rid of that, I'd be so happy. I got the mute button that time. Then I'll cough it up, and then, unless I spit it back out, I just swallow it, and we repeat the cycle. It's terrible. It's terrible. But no, what I wanted to talk about today was Spider-Man, Into the Spiderverse. I had the boy over this past weekend, and as part of his birthday, I'm like, okay, well, let's go see a movie. Nice early matinee, 10:30 in the morning. We'll go get some breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes, and go see a movie, eat some candy, and everybody likes Spider-Man, right? Well, everybody likes Spider-Man, but how long do we like Spider-Man? And that's the biggest contention I face with my now 5-year-old is when we go to movies, it's always a thing of like a short attention span. And holy shit, this is bad. Keep coughing. He'll be into it for a little bit, usually like during the previews, it's like, when's the movie going to start? When's the movie going to start? And then the movie actually starts and you're a half hour into it. When's the movie going to be over? When's it going to be over? So it's aggravating, but I think it does well in teaching him patience. At least I hope it does. But, no, so Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is Sony's latest foray into Spider-Man, and it's animated and doesn't necessarily focus on Peter Parker. We get finally to branch out and explore more of the comic lore, where we have a multiverse. Not only Marvel, but DC does this as well, where we have one core universe, which is our universe. In Marvel, I think it's the 616 universe, where we have our Peter Parker, our Spider-Man. But there are different versions of Spider-Man out there, and they all inhabit these different universes. Some of them, like the ones we get here, are Miles Morales, who takes over after, spoilers here, the original Peter Parker in his world dies, and he gets his own spider powers as well as a few other things. We have then Spider-Man 2099, which was huge in the 90s when we were doing all the like X-Men 2099 and Punisher 2099. And just countless others. So what this movie does is it brings all of that together. We get a story set in the Ultimate Universe where Miles Morales, a young half black, half Hispanic boy, gets bitten by a radioactive spider and develops powers and has to contend with, the traditional Spider-Man origin story, which the movie does a great job at poking fun of because we get introduced to so many different Spider-Men, and we've had so many Spider-Man movies that we all know the origin story. It's like when we see the Batman origin story. Like, we know Thomas and Martha are going to get shot by Joe Chill or Jack Napier, whatever you want to call him, in the alleyway. We know the story. And it's a running gag throughout the movie, like, oh, hey, let's talk about how this goes through. So it's the traditional story, but that's kind of how it works, is that every Spider-Man goes through the same situation. But this Spider-Man, Miles Morales, has a little bit of an upper edge because he has a Peter Parker who's already gone through it. But the Peter Parker in this universe, he's only been doing it for about 10 years. He's blonde. He looks a lot more like the Ben Reilly clone from that 90s saga. And Green Goblin's a 20-foot tall looking gargoyle, and Dr. Octopus is a super sexy scientist lady. It's interesting. And so, pulling really no punches, our the Spider-Man of this world, this Peter Parker, he dies. They kill him. Kingpin smashes him in, and I wasn't expecting Kingpin. Not at all. I know he's a Spider-Man villain, but I guess my view of Kingpin has been not tainted, but colored by Vincent D'Onofrio's portrayal in the Daredevil series. And to get the cartoonish goon mob boss Kingpin back was... he's done extremely well. He's relatable. He has very believable motivations for doing what he's doing, but it was jarring for me. Almost as... And I guess that's kind of the overall theme that I took away is unintentional, I would assume, is that because we're pulling in these different characters and different variations of characters, a lot of it gets stood on its head. And yeah, I was pushed out of my comfort zone as far as what I knew and expected. Like, yeah, I had the general beats, but the nuances were throwing me. I'm sorry. I thought I had that one. I didn't get the mute button. Fuck, I got another episode to record too. So, the thing that is going to jump out most with this one is the animation style. It seamlessly blends pseudo-realistic visuals with comic book visuals and pop art and even anime. It all blends it together, and it's all done in a very believable way, because when we start getting introduced into the different Spider-Man from the multiverse, where we have our Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, and Spider-Man Noir, who comes from the 30s and fights Nazis and lives perpetually in black and white. He doesn't even know what color is. He sees a Rubik's Cube and his mind is fucking blown. We have Spider-Ham with Peter Porker and another Spider Girl who shares a psychic link with a spider that they both pilot a mech robot. It's different, and each one of them represents the art style from that universe that they come from, and it's blended in a way that doesn't feel silly. Like Spider-Man Noir is a lot more realistic than the anime variation or Spider-Ham. And then we have kind of the middle ground with, you know, Miles and Gwen Stacy and everybody else that's inhabiting this ultimate universe. You know, they're stylized, and there's different visual elements at play. Like Kingpin looks just like a big black block, and he's strong and hunched over, and Miles is just this little twiggy character. But it's done all with such detail and finesse, and the way it's presented is just, I would say you have to see it just for the visuals alone. It's a gorgeous movie. And the way everything is handled, from, you know, the spider senses to the different powers, and how characters actually see the world is phenomenal. It's fantastic. And, you know, on par with it is a story that it's a coming of age story, but it's told in a different way. You know, we all know how the Spider-Man story goes, but this one delves into different beats with the plot and takes it in different ways, because there are different people experiencing a similar story, but they're making it their own. And I'm going to be honest, I mean, I'm an emotional wreck when it comes to movies. I don't know what happened over the past 10 years, but I am an easy fucking cry. I don't cry at all outside of, you know, really in any other situation, but you get me in a fucking movie like Coco destroyed me, and I refuse to see that movie again. But even this version of, you know, the older, our Earth 616 Peter Parker that comes and mentors Miles after his Peter Parker dies, he's my Spider-Man. He's the one I grew up with. You know, he's a little bit older than me. He's got gray hair. He's got a big belly on him, and they're following the comic storyline where him and Mary Jane have divorced, and Aunt May's dead. He's a broken individual, and he's sad. And I mean, it's like when my ex and I split, and I'm living alone in this apartment and eating pizza, and there's no furniture, and just depressed and all this other stuff. And, you know, I've got good in my life, but it's overshadowed by these things that that I felt I've lost. And it was so relatable. Like, he's my fucking Peter Parker, and he's just grizzled and disenfranchised and bitter and cynical about everything. But he gets that sense of purpose with having to train Miles, and it's so well done. I really regret not dragging Rachel to go see it. Like, I told her, yeah, you have no choice in this, but I realized, oh yeah, it's not only is it superheroes, but it's cartoons. I get it's not your bag, but this is one of those things where it breaks out of that mold, and I don't care, you know, what type of movies or shows you're into. It tells a story so well and is so visually stunning that I honestly believe it's a great watch for anybody, especially if you're a fan of just a well-crafted story. And of course, like every other, you know, superhero movie or just any movie in general, because they're trying to build universes, they set it up for a sequel, and I'm eager. I'm excited to see what it is. And I think part of what makes me most excited about a movie like this is it breaks away from the known. I've made this argument and complaint dozens and dozens of times that I'm so sick of stories sticking to one plot point, like Star Wars sticking to the Skywalkers and Batman sticking to, you know, his parents dying. Branch off and go into uncharted territory, and that's exactly what this movie does. It's such a huge breath of fresh air. It's wonderful. It's going to be one of those ones that's like, yeah, I have to buy it. There's no question. I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to watch it time and time again. And it's refreshing. It's what we need right now in terms of a different take on the superhero movie. So go see it. Definitely go see it. If you have kids, they'll love it. Even my boy, who was like, this is too long, I think you ask him, he's like, oh yeah, I really liked it. Well, who's your favorite character? And he liked the little girl with the robot, which was adorable. So I have to see if I can find an action figure for that. But no, that's going to do it. That's going to wrap things up for this episode. I, again, apologize for the cough, especially missing the mute button a couple times there. A lot. Sorry. But yeah, we'll get this up, and then I should have a couple others up hopefully soon. But, I forget. How does the outro go? Oh, yeah, if you have any complaints, criticisms, concerns, questions, compliments, or otherwise just want to talk, drop us an email at theunwashedasses@gmail.com. Again, that's theunwashedasses@gmail.com. And, of course, if you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/zeroand09. That's ZEROAND09. All I ask is $1 a month. It keeps shows like this coming out and allows me to branch off new projects. It's a metric. It's a way for me to gauge that you like what I'm doing. I like to think it's a value for value model. If you've even gotten $1 worth of entertainment out of me this month, then, I'd appreciate you donating that $1. Of course, if you can't, I understand. All I ask is you tell a friend. Let them know about the show. And let them know, get it wherever they get their podcasts. But that's going to do it. We will talk to you soon. Need an outro.